Well, 2020 will surely be remembered for the coronavirus pandemic, which is far from over. Restrictions and lockdowns have had a huge impact on the younger generation. How have they dealt with it, and how has it changed their lives?
As the sun rose on Saturday, the police moved in. Hundreds of partygoers were ID'd and fined for breaching France's coronavirus restrictions. In the cavernous warehouses near the city of Rennes, the party was finally over.
Nous avons entamé une manœuvre ce matin de 2 ordres.
The police moved in to restore public order. First, officers secured the area in an operation that went off largely without incident. We then issued a number of citations to people found to be in violation of the law. Hours earlier, the rave had still been in full swing. Around 2,500 mostly young people had gathered on New Year's Eve, defying police efforts to stop the event. The situation got out of hand very quickly. 3 officers were injured, and so I made the decision to withdraw our forces. And while this ran the risk of letting the situation get even worse, removing police from the scene allowed them to pursue a strategy of containment. With the police holding back, the party continued for a second night. The organizers defended their decision to stage the event. I think there was a real desire to come together. Most of us are in our 20s, and we feel we're losing our youth in this pandemic. And many of us are also struggling against depression. France has the highest number of COVID-19 cases in Western Europe. To contain the virus, bars and restaurants have been closed, and an 8 p.m. curfew is being extended to many parts of the country. We knew the risk, but we wanted to come together and party. The whole world of culture is shut down since the crisis began. We had to come and support the organizers. Fearing a super-spreader event, authorities have urged everyone who attended to self-isolate when they get home.
Our reporters talked to 4 young people living right here in Berlin.
If I think of 2020, I think of
überraschend anders.
Geschlossene Grenzen, mangelnde Digitalisierung.
Wer hat es kommen sehen, dass in diesem Jahrzehnt einfach so weit fortgeschritten so eine Krankheit uns komplett lahmlegt?
Also ich weiß nicht, wie lange Corona noch geht. Ich weiß nicht, ob ich nächstes Jahr meine Ausbildung normal fertig machen kann. Ich weiß nicht, ob ich danach normal in Berlin bleiben kann. Es ist alles ziemlich offen. Das finde ich ziemlich schwierig.
Corona hat mein Leben in dem Sinne verändert, dass ich nach meinem Abi 2020 eben nicht direkt in dieses Berlin-Leben eintauchen konnte, viele Leute kennenlernen konnte, so richtig feiern konnte und mit allem drum und dran, was dazugehört.
a lot of my work travels with teaching and performing. So since Corona happened, it canceled almost all of it.
Ich habe mir das so vorgestellt, dass ich wirklich in diesen Gebäuden sitze, dass ich Kommilitonen kennenlerne, dass wir irgendwie trinken gehen und so. Und das ist jetzt alles digital.
The point of where I was really down I think it was just I am in the last straw of my bank account. I really didn't have any means to pay for the next rent or to have money for my, for my groceries. And at some point, I really just worked my body. And I was just here by myself playing music, and I was dancing, and I was letting go. I was letting all of my emotions out.
Ich nehme auf jeden Fall auch durch Corona das Verständnis, dass alle Menschen nicht ewig leben und dass für uns wertvolle Menschen auch nicht ewig leben. Und man deswegen irgendwie überdenken soll, was man diesen Menschen sagt.
Corona hat mein Leben positiv verändert. Irgendwo langfristig, glaube ich. Weil ich viel über mich selbst gelernt habe. Durchhaltevermögen auf jeden Fall. Dass man nicht gleich sagt, nee, mache ich jetzt nicht, weil es vielleicht gerade doof läuft.
We're joined now by Mia Pavelchuk, a 14-year-old high school student here in Berlin. Mia, thanks so much for joining us here on DW. Really appreciate you making the time. You're a teenager, of course, and a high school student. This is a time in your life when you ought to not only be expanding your mind at school, but also just having fun. What has the past year been like for you?
I think it has been quite challenging, but I started realizing and appreciating things more in this year, the past year, yes.
What would you say was... I'm sorry, were you still talking?
No.
What would you say was the single biggest challenge you faced?
The biggest challenge I faced in the pandemic was probably school and holding up my grades and everything, yes.
How was that different? Because school is always challenging for kids. How was that different during the pandemic as compared to any other time?
Before the pandemic, we were in school, and when Germany started locking down, what I missed especially was the learning atmosphere, and I couldn't really concentrate, and I found it quite hard dealing with all the assignments that we had and everything.
You know, when I was your age, one of the things that I always thought about was what I wanted to do this year or where I wanted to be the next year. How did the pandemic change that for you? Was there anything that you really wanted to achieve in 2020 that you just weren't able to do?
I wanted to visit my family in Malaysia. However, this was not possible, and that made me really, really sad because we normally visited my family every single year, but yeah.
Tell me more about how the pandemic has actually changed your perspective or your outlook on life. Is there anything that maybe you took granted before that you've come to really appreciate?
What I definitely took for granted was physical touch with all my friends and other people. I definitely miss that, like just hugging someone or holding hands with someone or just going out without a mask or something.
There's so many people out there, Mia, who are nodding emphatically just listening to you. Really appreciate your time this morning. Mia Pavelchuk, thank you.
Thank you.